World Development System. Chapter 201. Jim grunted as he heard Anik's proclamation. Who does he think he is? That proclamation in itself is a nailed coffin for that guy. Jim ordered Joss and continued to make preparations. Humph, bring the ballistas. Joss smiled as he looked at the behavior of some mercenaries. He had a tone of mockery as he saw the mercenaries. It seems some mercenaries intend to fight from within the castle. Jim humphed and mocked them. Humph, getting intimidated by a nobody general. Joss nodded and gave his opinion. Okay, we will split in 3 groups. One group of 10,000 soldiers and the other 2 groups led by me and Joss of 5,000. The group of 10,000 soldiers will be the bait. The real attack will be carried out by the elite magic knights led by me. I will circle them and come from behind. Currently, we are at a disadvantage because we don't have archers who can fight on horses while they also have sturdy armors which will be difficult to penetrate, so this time we will attack them with magic attacks, and this is also our reason for our need to use a bait. Killing that general would certainly change the winds of war in our favor. Prince Hector's subordinate roared as he saw the actions of Jim. What are you doing? You need to protect this point. If you go out then it is a total massacre. It would be better to defend. Joss looked at him as if he was stupid. It would still be a massacre if we don't find solutions for those ballistas. They have bigger range and hence our fall is certain if we don't attack them. Do you really understand battlefields? With a red face, the man nodded and understood their dilemma. However, he wanted to defend this base to the bitter end before Prince Hector's army arrived at the borders with reinforcements. I guess I can't stop them anyway. Their ballistas would anyway come in handy. Jim told before he left. You understand what to do, right? I will be leaving first. Joss nodded as he smiled and looked at Jim, who left earlier from the gates. Joss then turned to Prince Hector's subordinate as he smiled and asked him, do you want to get some glory on this battlefield? Hector's subordinate asked suspiciously. Really? How do you plan to make me achieve this? Joss smiled and said something in his ear which really surprised him. Really? Are you sure we can pull it? Joss smiled and left with his 5,000 men. Well, it's your choice. However, we have a big chance of pulling this out. He nodded as he smiled and agreed. Okay, you can count on me. This would certainly please Prince Hector a lot. While I might as well get a big promotion for this decision. Without saying anything, Joss smiled and left for the battlefield after hearing his agreement. As soon as the mercenaries exited the gate and left to target the ballistas, they were instantly bombarded by the ballistas which were aimed at them from the start. The first mercenaries who came out were blown to shreds immediately. Looking at the situation, the mercenaries tried to spread out so as to reduce the damage created by the ballistas. The mercenary head leading 10,000 troops cursed instantly after facing the ballistas. Damn, these guys won't even give us a second to breathe. A lot of mercenaries were able to see the enemy general for the first time. Most of them shivered as they saw the enemy general with a black and white masquerade mask without any expression or emotions. While a lot of the mercenaries were excited to claim glory on behalf of their mercenary group. One of the heads laughed as he charged with his horse. This battle will be a stepping stone for our group. We would rise to become one of the biggest groups in Elias after this battle. Come charge with me. That enemy general is our war trophy. However, as soon as he charged with his men, they were showered with big and mini both the ballistas. Half of his men were immediately obliterated as he gasped in shock. Damn, what are these devilish weapons? Even our armors can't resist them. Looking at the unusual movements of his enemies, Amber was quite confused. John was observing as he saw a group led by Jim and his men. John failed to spot Joss, who came out late with his men when the battle started. He was currently focused on Jim. He ordered Amber after spotting Jim, Amber, make sure to finish those pests in front. There is no need to hesitate on using runic magic ballistas. Today, you will be in charge of the remaining men here. Their lives are your responsibility. John faced Marsh and spoke, Marsh, you along with 600 other magic knights will come with me. Both of them nodded and answered, "Yes, sir." Amber immediately took control of the army and started giving out orders. His first order was to use the runic ballistas as he started targeting group leaders and to crumble the enemy's morale. One of the mercenaries who noted an observation remarked, "Damn that asshole, he is certainly targeting the leaders deliberately." There were a lot of explosions being heard at the battlefield as both the mercenaries and NF town soldiers marveled at the fireworks created by magic and ballistas. John smiled as he immediately headed for Jim's group of 5,000 troops. Looking at the situation, Jim was flabbergasted as his men faced arrows from their enemies. At this time, John didn't clash with them head-on as he started kiting his enemies from the sides while using the mobility of horses. This time, the true usage of stirrups, horseshoes, and the mini ballistas was seen. The men fell down slowly but surely. The morale of Jim's men was at an all-time low as they couldn't even clash with them head-on. At this time, they were already down to 3,400 men. Jim decided to escape as he saw that the situation was dire and futile while they couldn't chase them. He was very cautious as he led his men. He thought, "I need to be cautious, that guy certainly is an expert from the way he is controlling his army. It's as if he is in a training ground currently. Why isn't he fearful of this war? Even the veterans would be cautious of war. I guess he has a strong mind and hence his order when he decided to attack without any hesitation." He cursed as he saw men falling one by one. "Damn it, everything is going different from the plans." At this time, he saw that Joss's men had already circled behind John's men as he gave a signal to Jim that they should ambush him. He thought, "Finally. He has started to act. Good, maybe we still have a chance." After hearing about Anik's feat in the previous battle, he was cautious this time around as he let his men clash with John and others first. Watching Jim and his men leaving the battlefield, John decided to chase them as they wouldn't get another chance like this to kill enemy head. John thought as he chased him, this guy is surely good at running away. Let's see how he runs away this time." John charged and ordered, "Come, we have to catch that rat. Previously they were able to escape. We can't let it happen again." As John looked back, he spotted Joss who seemed like a normal man but was leaking out killing intent towards John's direction. He only looked at him for a glance as he smiled and immediately decided to chase Jim. He smiled and murmured, "Let's see what do you have in store and see if both of you guys can really fight me." Jim smiled as he ordered his men to charge at John after watching Joss. With a cunning smile, he spoke. "Charge. Now is our chance to teach this bastard a lesson. Even if 100s of us fall right now, killing this man would be a feat in itself and collapse this ragtag bunch. Or else we would just be waiting for our deaths in front of this devil general. You all know the fate everyone who battled previously, right?" John charged ahead as he moved with his pure dark red sword. His men were left behind after John charged almost immediately as he saw a chance. Like the wind, his sword moved which left a bloody trail of red light that shocked Jim and his men as they looked at the masked man in horror. John attacked without stop. Currently, he was using all of his skills which enhanced his sensitivities. None in his path survived as John moved and attacked with a space slash to a group of mercenaries charging towards him. Anyone who came into the path was slashed in two. One of the soldiers exclaimed as he saw the red light in this battle, "Whoa, what is that?" A lot of soldiers in the rear were horrified after watching the previous moves of John. All they could see was a red and black light that moved at an incredible speed which was unnoticeable to nearby men. Jim watched that space slash in horror. He thought, "What the fuck is that attack? I have never seen such an attack that can cut multiple enemies into two via a single slash. Is there anyone who can use such sort of attacks? The men are being cut into two like a vegetable against a sword. This guy is definitely someone new. I better be cautious about that move." Jim thought as he saw John's movement and moved back. "I can't fight this guy head on. His movements alone are on whole another level. I can fight with him for 2 to 5 attacks with my magic. Joss has to make a move within that time. That is our only chance." After some time, he looked at Joss, who was behind John and his men, as he gave him the signal to fight. Smiling, he removed both of his swords and charged with wind slash to stop his charge. Watching the attack, John too used a fire wind slash to intercept his sword. John smiled as he looked like he was simply toying with Jim. There was clear mockery in his eyes as John easily intercepted the other sword with a small knife in his other hand without using any magic. Jim was fully flabbergasted as he clashed. What is with this guy's strength? This guy is clearly playing with me. Watching this, Jim had a grave face as he could clearly feel the humiliation after this first clash where he was stopped by a mere knife. John with a playful tone teased Jim, "How about this? If you can withstand my next 2 attacks, then I will let you go. You clearly aren't my match, so it isn't fun playing with you." Jim didn't answer as he focused on his duel with John. However, he agreed without saying anything. John smiled again as he again playfully attacked him with fire wind magic, which just scratched Jim on his cheek. Jim sighed with relief as he thought, "One last attack and I can escape this hellish battleground. This general is clearly on another level. This guy is certainly not Vlad from the way he can use fire and wind magic as well. We have to uncover this guy's identity." John smiled as he saw hope in the eyes of Jim for the first time. Good. John again deliberately attacked on Jim's cheek with dark magic. Dark magic was clad with the knife as he simply scratched his cheek again with his fast move. The knife was at Jim's throat, but John took it back with a teasing laugh. John smiled as he left him. However, unknown to Jim, the poison on John's knife only activated with dark magic, which penetrated inside Jim's body. John shooed him away with his hands. "I guess you can leave now." With humiliation for a second and excitement for being alive, Jim sighed with relief as he waited for Joss to come. John smiled and crushed all the hopes of Jim, who was sighing with relief. In a devil-like tone, John reminded him after a big pause, "But I can't guarantee your life since you are poisoned. If you want to live, you have to kill me and take the antidote from my body. This poison was made by Grand Poti Winner, Melanie, so you should understand its potency." John pointed towards the slash on Jim's cheek as he mocked Jim. Very soon, Jim's face changed from excitement to despair as he heard him. Clearly, John was playing with the whole time. There was immense anger on his face. "This fucker dares play with me!" Jim roared as he moved. "You dare play with me?" John laughed as he moved to shrug him off. "Well, you see, it was fun playing with you. Wasn't it fun when did the same with others? Wasn't it exciting to feel the same treatment as your victims? I liked watching your face having both hope at one second and despair the very next second." Chapter 202. Currently, Joss had a grave face as he clearly watched the previous attack where John used the space slash, which only increased his resolve to kill Anik. "This guy has to die. I better report this to Prince Hector and Duke Fjord. This guy will be a very big headache for us if he lives." That attack certainly contained space and wind elemental magic to clear his enemies from the path. And now fire, dark, and wind element magic. How many more elements can he use? This guy is really a monster. We can't fight this guy in melee. It would be a total massacre against this guy in melee. He is clearly more dangerous in melee fights as he will his speed to his advantage. We need someone on General Bellion or Irwin's level over here. Where the fuck did that count find such a guy? Even dukes themselves have one such guy with them. Joss ordered his team of 30 men with a grave tone. "Attack on my signal with your best magic and sword attack. It doesn't matter if you attack that musclehead Jim as well, since he is engaging. I don't care anyway. Attack with long-range attacks only. This time I have a plan. If we fail, we will run away. No need to worry about any consequences. Is it clear?" Everyone smiled and agreed. "Yes, boss." Joss released a signal while Jim was clearly angered by John, who was simply playing with him the whole time. He charged with full force as he used his best attack, the Wolf Wind Slash, to kill John, which was clearly lethal if not countered. "Die!" roared Amber as he charged to attack John. On the other side of the battlefield, This whole time, there was a gruesome battle taking place on Amber's end as he was clearly influenced by John and started using kiting tactics as well. There were ballistas going off in all directions as Amber's own team was protecting the ballistas. During this time Amber noticed that a particular ballista was heading in John's direction as John was fighting with Jim. With a clearly angered face, he murmured and ordered as he looked into the direction from where the ballistas came, "It seems they really don't care about their lives. Men, increase the intensity of our attacks. I want all of those ballistas turned into ashes. We are invading the walls. Kill those dogs of Antonio and Hector. They dare try to assassinate our general. Kill!" roared the men as they heeded Amber's orders. The enemies were clearly intimidated by Amber's roar as they charged towards ballistas with more fervor. Amber charged with his men from the front as he attacked with his fire sword towards his enemies. John was attacked with various magics from Joss's men as Joss mocked Jim's naivety. Joss inwardly thought as he looked at Jim, who was fighting for his life, "Fool! Do you really think that I would fight such a monster head-on?" Humph! With an ominous foreboding, John felt killing intent from his back as he saw a ballista attack which was coming straight at him. With nowhere to run, he sighed and murmured after looking at Joss, "It seems that guy is the most cunning of them all. From the looks of it, he doesn't mind sacrificing this musclehead while refusing to engage head-on. I guess I have no choice but to use that move." With enemies on his side and 2 attacks from the sides, on from the front and other from behind, he finally decided to use it. Marsh, at last, finally watched the attacks in the final moments as he hoarsely roared, "Men, protect your general. We can't let their scheme succeed." With a look of horror on his face, Jim looked at the direction of Joss as he saw his smile. He cursed, "Damn you, traitor! You dare cross me and conspire against me? If I come out alive, I will make sure I cut you into pieces. You want to sacrifice me along with the enemy and earn all glory." At the last moment when the ballistas were about to come in contact with him, John smiled as he disappeared completely. There was a completely shocked expression on Jim's face as he clearly watched what happened, but it was too late as he got stuck by the explosion and attacks from Jim and his men. Joss had a grave face as he saw that John was nowhere to be found. Marsh was charging with his men as he saw that John was 50 meters away from the site of the explosion. He too was completely shocked by the speed of Anik. One of the soldiers remarked, "Damn, what was that speed?" Marsh immediately came to his senses and ordered, "Stop your chattering, charge and kill those schemers. And get near General, Anik. Check whether he is injured or not. We can't leave any of these scums alive if anything happens to General." Meanwhile, Amber's men were completely charged as they had increased the intensity of their attacks. Prince Hector's subordinate cursed as he saw that Anik was alive while Anik was looking at him with a teasing face. He immediately shivered after remembering the previous clash. "I am fucked. That guy won't let me go. Attack with a more faster pace." Suddenly one of the gates collapsed while the last ballista on the wall fell as Amber's men were concurrently targeting the walls. They were now free to move and attack the mercenaries with their ballistas. The mercenary head charged at Amber after losing 7,000 of his men to reach Amber's squad. However, without even a chance to fight, he was immediately torn to shreds as Amber gave the order to clear the battlefield of enemy commanders. The head was completely shocked after finding out that one of the ballistas was fired in his direction. He saw the ballista in horror in his last moments as he used earth magic to protect himself, however it was completely futile and was torn to shreds. The aftermath of Joss's and the ballista's attack left Jim fully bloodstained as he was dripping blood from all the sides as he looked at Joss and Prince Hector's subordinate with hatred. However, Joss was near the gates as he left and ran inside gates without looking back. It's good that the rune came to use. He saw the battlefield in horror as there were bodies lying around. Coming to his senses, he ordered his 500 men to head back as he forgot that he was currently poisoned. "We are leaving." However, as he was leaving he found that he was dizzying out as poison kicked in his system while Marsh charged at him with his men. Without waiting for anything, Marsh attacked and charged with his water magic clad on his sword towards Jim. Jim cursed as he discovered his fate. Fuck, it seems I am really poisoned, I should at least take this man out before dying. At the last moment before attacking, Jim staggered as he was penetrated by Marsh's sword and fell on the ground without any movement. In the last moments, Jim cursed, fuck, I am dying to this guy instead of that general. Marsh with cold ruthless eyes spoke, this was for killing those villagers. I wish I could have tortured you much more before killing, however I can't let you escape and do more of such massacres. John smiled as he watched the scene of Marsh killing Jim. I guess he has learned his lesson. As I always say, mercy to enemies is ruthlessness to your allies. That's the motto you should follow. After the conclusion between Jim and Marsh's men emerged victorious after the fall of Jim. John approached Marsh and commented, good job. It seems you have hardened your resolve unlike your previous self. It seems Amber was able to handle such a scale of battle. Let's go and join him. All of them answered, yes, sir. The mercenaries who were out of order without their leaders scrambled to run but were one by one soon targeted and killed by Amber and his men. At this time more of the gates collapsed as multiple ballistas hit it and the walls couldn't withstand the barrage of ballistas. There was horror in the faces of guards who were guarding it as Amber's army slowly marched towards them in complete order. With a smile, John came with Marsh and others as he killed the remaining mercenaries outside the wall. He spoke to Amber with a big smile, ha ha ha, good job. You did well commanding the soldiers. I was watching the whole time. It's good that you don't value honor but valued the lives of your men. Amber scratched his head as he smiled and spoke, thanks, General, it would not have been possible without you as you always emphasized that I should always take care of my men. Marsh, it seems you were finally able to smile after killing that bastard. Marsh nodded as he smiled and answered, I guess that's true, that guy opened whole new thinking for me. Come let's march. We need to finish this menace once and for all. Right men, he roared at the end which was reciprocated by others. When Joss was leaving the border town, Prince Hector's subordinate roared at him after watching him loot Jim's camp and escaping all by himself, where are you going? You can't leave us hanging against that demonic general. Weren't you hired by Prince Hector? Joss laughed after listening to this idiot and reminded him one last time with a little bit of killing intent, you think you can survive? The walls here are already down. As far as hiring goes, I care more about my life and my main employer currently is Duke Fjord where my job was to divert the war from seas towards lands. My work here is done. You guys handle that count and this mad general on your own. Do you think we can resist them? Nope. And you should remain in your limits while you are talking to me. The guy gulped a bit and listened. Joss continued as he pointed in the direction of Amber who was watching both of them with cold bloodthirsty eyes, run if you want to live because that man is coming for your life. Do you think he didn't notice your order to kill his general from the walls? He would most probably defy the orders of his general when it comes to killing both of us. Well, you should blame your greed and should have prepared a plan B when you agreed with my deal. See ya boys, I am on my way. Chapter 203. Without speaking anything more, Joss smiled as he left the borders with his 30 men and headed to Greedos where it was safer. However, he had a grave expression after watching that general's last move when he escaped that ambush. Joss thought, that guy knows a lot of weird magic. I better be alert against this general. Well, this operation was still worth it since we were able to plunder Jim's gold. I didn't lose many men while others became cannon fodder. Overall a good operation. I am sure Duke Fjord would reward me handsomely. Prince Hector's subordinate shivered as he looked at Amber and his army slowly cleaning up the battlefield and charging in their direction. However, he was chained by fate because he was ordered to guard this station or he would be executed by Prince Hector's men. He cursed as he watched the battlefield, I am fucked. Why did I decide to work for him? There was complete chaos inside the walls as the soldiers fell down one by one. Most of the mercenaries were counting on the reinforced walls and the ballistas which had arrived just recently today. The head cursed as he thought, if I surrender, then there will be internal chaos and those mercenaries will start targeting us in the city, damn it. I guess this general would still leave the soldiers alive if I surrender later on. Yes, I should bet on it. As John and his men entered the walls, they immediately started targeting their enemies one by one with their mini ballistas and other weapons. John looked at the head and immediately gave a ruthless order to his men, kill them all. I don't care about the consequences since they dared to collaborate with mercenaries. These guys are indirectly involved in 2 massacres. Everyone needs to understand the consequences of becoming of my enemy and provoking me. Amber was shocked for a second while as he thought that they would take them as pals while Marsh kept a poker face as he too agreed and lead his men to complete the order. John and Marsh lead their men to target all the mercenary camps slowly while Amber led his men to kill the guards of Dolores belonging to Antonio and Prince Hector. The walls and the border town were burning as the battle and chaos raged on between them. The burning walls could be seen from all sides near the castle. The mercenaries were looting each other while some were trying to run away. There was no order in them. One of the mercenary heads exclaimed, "Damn, what are their armors made of? My arrows can't even penetrate them." Very soon he was killed by an arrow shot by Marsh as he saw that he was slowly gathering mercenaries. During this moment, Joss looked at the border town from a distance as he saw John's men surrounding the town and rounding up all the mercenaries. The burning walls gave a deep impression to him as he felt that they were quite lucky. Joss looked at a treasure chest and remarked, "Good, with this, our work here is done. It's good we didn't wait for long and only looted Jim." Many people started deserting the town after looking at the grave situation where all the mercenaries were being killed one by one. One of the guys roared, "Damn it, this general is a demon, no worse than demons. He is killing everyone, even when one of our guys disguised as a soldier. He was killed without single remorse. You will pay for this incident." John shrugged and shot an arrow. No need to spare any of these guys. But this time John's men were rounding them up on most of the exit points as they killed them without a shred of mercy. The whole town was burning as the head of the army kneeled in front of John and begged for mercy after watching the carnage which John's army brought with them. The head shivered and spoke to John, "We surrender, General Anik, please spare my men. We were simply forced to do this." John smiled as he watched his hypocrisy. "You see, you guys were already warned but you still dared to defy my orders. This will have consequences. Hypothetically, if I back off now then everyone will take me as a pushover, so blame your decision. Had you guys not interfered when we're chasing Jim and his men then I wouldn't have bothered with you, but you made the wrong choice making me as your enemy. And if I was at the opposite end, would you have spared me and my men? I am sure Prince Hector gave you clear-cut orders." With a shocked face, he shivered and asked, "Do you really intend to kill all the soldiers and mercenaries over here? Don't you care what will happen later on? It will become a matter which even you can't handle." John smiled and showed cold-blooded ruthless eyes as he spoke, "Yes, and why should I care if you guys die or survive? In my eyes, you guys are no different than mercenaries since you decided to shelter the mercenaries who were responsible for 2 massacres. You guys have blood in your hands for those 2 massacres. The soldiers here, all knew about the activities which took place and hence no mercy to any of you. You guys could have left the army if you knew about the activities here. Though crude, this will also serve as a warning to all of my enemies. Battles are not child's play. There will be consequences of each action." Without letting him continue, John used his knife and penetrated his throat. The head died in shock and horror as he watched that cold ruthless face and heard Anik's decision to kill all the enemies. With sharp eyes, John looked in the direction of his men and asked with a strict tone, "Is it clear to everyone?" Everyone answered in unison as they got to work, "Yes, General." A lot of people from Dolores watched the burning town from a distance which was made recently. One of the traders remarked as he watched the burning walls, "It seems something big has happened there. Wasn't that place out of limits by Baron Antonio and Prince Hector? What do you think happened there?" One guy spoke after puffing his cigar, "Yeah, Previously some men from the army were moved there. They used to patrol the borders from that check post. However, from the rumors, I heard that it is a den of mercenaries. My biggest guess is that mercenaries have started their usual acts of looting each other. The traitor looked at him with surprise and spoke, "Shh, everyone knows that it is a den of mercenaries. From the looks of this, I think they were finally attacked by Count's men. It's good that my son already left Antonio's army after that previous declaration at the eastern port by Commander Anik, or he would have faced the same fate." He nodded and answered, "True, we need to be careful about what we speak since an army is approaching Dolores. I hope the war doesn't spread here. I will be leaving for Duke Rose's domain since there are new opportunities nowadays." Very soon the border patrol town fell as it was burning high in the sky with no rescue in sight. A lot of mercenaries were screaming as they tried to run from John and his men. After 3 hours, all the mercenaries and soldiers of this town died in cold blood. There was no pity in the eyes of John and his men after they witnessed their cruelties towards the commoners. John ordered his men as he hanged the bodies of Jim and the head at the southern gates of this border town, "Take everything of value back to NF City. Gold, food, metal. Don't leave a single thing. It will come in handy." "What is the battle report?" Marsh took out a report and reported immediately, "We lost 214 personnel, 141 dead and the rest very heavily injured who would take months to return after this battle. It would be very tough to bring back all the things with 2,500 men only, my lord." Chapter 204. John thought and answered Marsh, Bring back all the things to our temporary base first, it would be easier this way. Meanwhile, make insignia that General Anik and his men were here to kill all the mercenaries in big bold characters." Marsh asked John cautiously, "Okay. What about the dead bodies of mercenaries?" John thought a bit, nodded and answered, "Burn the rest, keep some leaders of mercenaries at the gates so that everyone gets to see their faces and fates clearly. People would know that mercenaries were here under Prince Hector and Antonio. We are leaving shortly after this. Start making preparations to load all the cargo for the camp." "Yes, my lord." Meanwhile, the southern border of North Frontier City was currently attacked by barbarians and baron makers with 35,000 men. Previously, Prince Hector made a deal with the fjord which allowed the barbarians and baron makers to get their hands on ballistas and shelter outside from John's eyes. These days they were in eastern port. Wilkins smiled as they attacked the main castle of Arlen and the southern border. Wilkins spoke to Sandro with a big smile, "With these, we will be able to mount our attack on NF City. While that general is busy fighting that rookie, we can get this castle as our base. The geography here is quite good to defend." Sandro nodded and answered, "Yes, this is our biggest chance. It was worth it to keep our men hidden at Eastern Port. It seems Prince Hector really hates that Count since he was ready to make concessions and deal with us. While that Baron, Antonio was quite happy to shelter us since he fears the Count very much." Wilkins licked his lips and answered, "But the range of those ballistas is quite a surprise. I never knew that they also have this kind of range while it seems my old enemy Arlen is handling that castle. It would be tough to bring down that castle as he is quite the cunning guy." After hearing about the ballistas, Sandro smiled and answered in a cunning tone, "Well, no need to worry about that. We will bring our ballistas closer to them even if we face some losses. That castle ain't moving anywhere while they are in shortage of men. What we need to do is bring those gates down and charge. The falling of those gates will be the end of them." Inside the castle, as soon as the attack by barbarians and baron makers started, Arlen ordered the men, "No need to panic, this attack was taken into consideration when General left for the front lines. Keep a lookout for General's return. Until then target the enemy ballistas since they would be fatal against us. We are still not using the cannons. If the enemies invade inside the castle, you are free to use the Kalashnikov and A5 rifles. However, make sure that every one of them dies inside the castle since I don't want the existence of our guns getting leaked so early. Josephine is coming with reserves. so there shouldn't be any problems. However, it would be better if they don't get involved. The ghost subordinate sighed with relief and gave his order to the men. Okay, sir. I will pass these orders. This would at least encourage the men. He thought, this news of Kalashnikovs and A5s will calm down the men since Lord is not present. Arlen sharply looked at the battlefield as he spotted Wilkins. He smiled and thought, they are in for deep trouble if they decide to invade this castle overestimating themselves. It's good seeing you again, Wilkins. Meanwhile, in Radiant City, there were two men in luxurious clothes, talking in a serious manner. Pope David asked the other man with a surprised face, "Are you sure about this deal?" King Lionheart smiled and said, "Yes, you can get your hands on the printing tech, so it's a win-win situation for both of us. Meanwhile, both of us fighting would create a civil war, so I would rather share things and avoid a civil war. Additionally, I don't like his interactions with demons, which is very worrying to me. Currently, he won't get support from Blucia House because of my deal with Prince Chad, so this is our chance to consolidate power for Ilias Kingdom." Pope David smiled and answered, Okay. I will agree with you as my interests coincide with you, and that Count has to pay for his insolence previously where he rejected my offer while he has long been a thorn for the Radiant Church with his new demonic medicines. So when are our armies attacking him?" Lionheart thought as he shook hands with David, I am only doing it because Ian Red asked me to. While my losses would reduce as well if I don't fight the Radiant Church. So this is still better than nothing. Well, I would still need to appease Plato as he was planning to eat up everyone in Ilias with the ballistas. The dwarves have already stopped their aggressive patrols after 2 small battles with our ballistas in the east previously. These ballistas surely came in handy. Why can't that Count simply understand his position and bow his head? He can easily become a duke in 10 years, but I guess he overestimated himself when he created that weapon. He would have been such a big asset for us against the Radiant Church. All the blackmailing of the Radiant Church would have ended with the invention of those drugs. Well, I am anyway targeting those drugs for now. Pope David smiled and thought, I guess this is okay as well, since I can spread our ideology with printing tech and Felix is already in our hands. It seems it was good to bluff the royal family after our mass mobilization of Templars in Radiant City. We could not get a better deal. Lionheart smiled and answered, we would attack them as soon as our armies join north of Dolores in 5 days on the pretext of him sheltering bandits and ignoring the orders of royal family. Recently we got the news that beasts have started attacking them on the northern front, so this is a perfect chance. That printing press is ruining the reputation of aristocrats day by day, and the same goes for you guys. Pope David smiled and answered, good, my 30,000 Templars will be ready to join General Irwin tomorrow. Make sure he knows about it. While remaining Templars which are mobilized would be divided between Radiant City and Dolores until the end of the war. I don't think that this war would end this early. Lionheart nodded as he left Radiant City in a disguise and immediately issued a decree for General Irwin to his subordinate. After writing the letter and stamping the decree, he handed it over to his subordinate, remember to report him without fail. The subordinate nodded and immediately headed for Dolores on his best horse, yes, Your Majesty. After concluding the battle at the border castle town of Dolores, Anik and everyone gathered at their temporary camp. After 2 hours, they had finally delivered all the resources from the border town to the camp. Loads of carriages were transporting all the resources as John asked for a report from his men. Was there anything when I left? The secretary answered, no, sir. Even the usual scout hasn't returned with a report, my lord. John furrowed his brows as he knew that Taylor wouldn't miss sending him a report about the current events every day, even if it was a small affair. One of the ghost scouts came in with an emergency report, my lord, there are 2 important matters. John had a foreboding feeling as he asked, what is it? The ghost answered without any weight as he gave a letter to John. The first one is, we found some people, normal people at the border town where we attacked previously, which we believe were kidnapped from Dolores by the mercenaries. These include both men and women. From the looks of this, we can conclude that Prince Hector and Antonio's men at the town knew about them. They say that they were brought there for sexual reasons by the mercenaries. However, many are traumatized to the point that they fear speaking to anyone. John sighed and answered, okay, keep them at the camp. Treat them with respect as they might have psychological trauma. We will be bringing them back later on. It's good I ordered the execution of all those scums. What about the next important matter? The ghost agreed and nodded as he reported about the second matter. From the looks of it, we think someone has started attacking the southern castle since not even a single scout came to report from North Frontier City. Even my scouts noted that there is a large group of troops near the southern castle. However, we are not sure about the invaders since they don't have a flag or banner representing them. And it seems that they were attacked when we attacked the base of mercenaries. So if my guesses are right, they are mercenaries who coordinated this attack when we were away. There was a letter addressed to John from Liam which only had few words written on it, Baron Makers and Barbarians, hidden at Eastern Port City. John smiled and understood as he read the letter, these guys just can't wait. Chapter 205. John continued with a smile, okay, prepare to leave, it seems these guys really won't understand unless they face a big loss. We are going to ambush them today. Keep those guys and 100 men with ballistas over here to protect the camp. Asterisk. Meanwhile, there was a hubbub in Dolores after they got various reports of the walls burning at the mercenary camp with the bodies of mercenary heads at the gates. One of the guys came back and asked, "Did you hear about that northwestern camp?" The peddler was confused as he asked, "Which camp?" The guy spoke in a low tone, "The one that was recently made by Prince Hector and Baron Antonio." Peddler remembered that he was pushed away at the gates when he wanted to sell some items over there. Wasn't it off limits to civilians? What happened there? Did they remove the restrictions? I am heading there immediately if that is the case. He smiled and spoke, "Nat, that whole castle of the border town is burning currently. Many are thinking that some big battle happened over there. The guards have only gone there to inspect right now." The peddler was horrified as he heard about the burning castle and thought, "It's good that I wasn't there, who knows what would have happened to me." The messenger who left early on had a letter with him as he immediately headed and rushed towards Antonio's office to report as he was stopped by guards, "It's bad, Lord needs to be informed immediately. There is a crisis." The guards asked with a suspicious look, "Do you have any permission or are you here just to make a ruckus?" He handed over the token which was given to him and answered, Yes, take this token, I was given by my superior if I was stopped anywhere." After looking at the token and the messenger carefully, he allowed him, "Okay, you can go." He thought, "I wonder where he got this token of Prince Hector." Antonio was in good mood these days as he finally sorted out his problems with Duke Fjord while he was in the good books of Prince Hector. He thought with a good mood, tomorrow will be the last day for that count since Duke Norman II has agreed to send 50,000 troops with other lords at the borders. Let's see how long does that count keeps his arrogance. Finally, the messenger was able to meet Antonio as he reported about the past situation when General Anik was about to invade the mercenary camp. Baron Antonio smiled as he read about the letter which was written in the midst of battle. Wow, that count finally lost his pressure and attacked? I guess we will finally get some good news about the results of the battle since we delivered the ballistas just today. With this, we also would have a legitimate reason to invade that count. Anyways, we need to send reinforcements in case something happens. Another guard came in hurriedly and reported about the tragedy which took place at the border town of Dolores. The guard was in extreme panic as he hoarsely spoke, he was in total shock as he too lost his brother in that place. "Lord, not a single person survived, not a single person. The situation is dire, we are totally unprotected, my lord." The heads of Jim and Prince Hector's subordinate was on display at the southern gates of the town. It was all done by General Anik. That guy butchered 35,000 men over there in a single day. Antonio furrowed his brows and spoke after listening to him, "Calm down and speak slowly. Antonio slowly heard the news as he was shocked by hearing the scale of the battle and the result. How is this possible? I don't believe it. Antonio thought that this guy was exaggerating and tried to reconfirm. How did you confirm this news? The guard gave a letter and explained, it was the head of Glorious Explorers who gave this news to me. He ran away after handing it over. We too confirmed the situation firsthand after visiting the camp where it was written in big characters in blood, done by General Anik the Ever-Burning and his men. Here is a letter addressed to you by W.D.S. Only now did Antonio came to his senses after he read the letter and roared, how the fuck is it possible? How can they have better ballistas? That bloody barbarian general, he dares kill all the men belonging to royal family. Is he sick of his life? Come, we are leaving for the camp. If that guy has really killed off everyone, then the situation is grave. That bloody lunatic, this is completely different from the assumptions we did previously. This would be one of the biggest incident in the kingdom after the fight between Duke Sapphire and Duke Fjord 3 years back, damn it. Both of them are lunatic, that general and the count. It's good that he didn't decide to invade Dolores, or else the situation would have been so grave that father would have been set free already. With a grave face, Antonio left with his men for the mercenary camp where the massacre took place. Looking at the gossiping of people, he understood that the walls of the camps were burning for a long time and everyone got to know about the dealings which took place over there. Meanwhile, at the nearby villages, the news about Prince Hector's scheme at Greenwood's village was being spread to everyone. What? Really? SHH, if you are intending to leave, then you have to try leaving via Duke Sapphire's domain, as currently there is a big battle going on at the borders. However, we can try to leave via the borders as well. Currently, barbarians and baron makers were nearing the castle. After 4 bitter hours they were finally able to bring down the walls, as they lost 20,000 of their men just to close their distance. They were able to take 10 ballistas themselves, which had reduced the barrage of their enemies. They were very near to invade the castle as they faced the mini ballistas. As soon as they prepared to invade the castle, they were greeted with ballistas firing at their rear end. This was an ambush that John and his men led after finding a perfect spot at the hills nearby. The barbarians and baron makers were finally met with a barrage of ballistas which attacked them from the rear. Arlen smiled as he got the signal from John. Finally. Arlen smiled and ordered his subordinate with a cold tone devoid of any emotions, anyone that invades the castle, greet them with A5s and Kalashnikovs. Keep none of them alive. Use them with full force, no need for any mercy. Use the mini ballistas if you are targeting them outside of the castle. Miss Josephine is also on standby at the nearby castle, we can't let the reserves be used. The subordinate nodded and left to give the orders. Wilkins roared as he heard an attack at his rear. Damn, who is attacking us now? Does he have a death wish? The subordinate answered, Boss, it's from the hills in the west. Sandro remarked as he watched the attack, it seems they have returned quite early. From the looks, I guess they didn't chase and attack the base. The subordinate shook his head and answered, No sir, I can confirm from our scouts that there was a big battle taking place at the mercenary camp near Dolores. Sandro nodded and understood, now, this is confusing. If they ran away, then I am sure that Jim wouldn't leave them alive and would have chased them here. Anyway, we can't stop and move back after so many gains. Who knows, this might be a ploy by that elf. Take control of that castle and then we will take care of these pests. Charge! John murmured as he saw that the mercenaries had decided to ignore and sent only a few men against them. Defending seems much easier than attacking. Arlen smiled as he saw the barbarians rushing with full fervor and anger because of their experience in the battlefield currently. As soon as the barbarians entered the castle, they were greeted with bullets that were used for the first time in the battle. All the barbarians were confused to find their mates falling one after another. Watching the current situation, they were shocked beyond belief. What the hell is this thing? The barbarian spoke in horror before he fell under a bullet as he saw his mates falling one by one. Chapter 206. Wilkins laughed as he entered the castle. today that elf will pay for his insolence of the past when he killed my subordinate. I was waiting for such a long time to get my hands on that elf. That guy always used to fight from a range. Today he will be trapped like a small mouse." Wilkins was continuously deflecting the arrows with his armors and tough skin earth as he rammed inside with his mace and charged ahead. Looking at the scene, Arlen took out his own rifle, which was made especially for him by Tornwall. He took out a magazine that was filled with runic bullets and loaded the rifle. Arlen smiled as he heard the ramblings of Wilkin from the first floor. "Time for my specialty, these bullets will come in handy. I wonder what surprise is hidden by Tornwall in these bullets." Looking at Wilkins, who came inside the castle, Arlen spoke to Wilkins, who was on the ground floor and rushing with his men towards them. "Wilkins, do you know why you survived previously?" Wilkins was confused as he looked at Arlen and thought, has he gone insane as death is around the corner? Arlen smiled and continued, "It was because I wasn't interested to kill you previously, but right now, since you decided to invade this castle, you and everyone else have sealed their fates. No one of you will escape alive." Wilkins smiled as he mocked Arlen and gave orders, "Humph, all talk, no bite. Charge with me, barbarians." He thought as he looked at the rifle which Arlen was handling currently, "What is he doing with that toy? Maybe his new toy. These guys too have the same toys as that elf. Why do I feel something is fishy?" He thought as he looked at the calm faces of Arlen and his men. Arlen smiled as he fired the bullet and spoke in a low voice, "Exactly." The bullet was clad in black fully as it sped with wind magic. Arlen remarked, "Whoa, the recoil is quite heavy with these bullets compared to normal ones." Arlen again shot at Wilkins as he didn't want to take risks. As soon as the bullet came in contact with Wilkins, he was covered in black around his throat and head. The bullet instantly penetrated the throat and head of Wilkins, who was in shock and horror completely after experiencing the power of rifles. He never imagined that such a thing could take his life, as he was always able to shrug off arrows with his earth magic and his armor. But this time, he never knew what hit him. The earth magic activated from his armor was still penetrated as blood gushed out. He thought as he fell down, "Damn, so this was his weapon." Arlen ruthlessly ordered as he saw Wilkins falling down, "Shoot." Wilkins fell down in an instant before the mercenaries could even react. There was complete chaos as everyone started falling like a pack of cards. Sandro furrowed his brows as he heard the shots of bullets as well as reducing voices of the barbarian mercenaries and murmured, "What's happening? Why has that idiot and his men stopped blabbering? They usually won't be quiet after they go into battle mode. Come, let's go." Very soon Sandro came in as he heard the ominous sounds. Currently, his men were preparing traps so that their enemies can't escape. This time, Arlen, without speaking anything, took his big rifle and immediately aimed at Sandro. Bang! A bullet was fired. Sandro dodged it instinctively as he saw wind pass by his right cheek. Arlen was surprised but immediately shot him 2 times again. Bang bang! With a recoil, Arlen smiled and murmured, "This guy has good reactions. But this time he is facing something on a completely different level. He would never know what killed him." Sandro was soon met with another 2 bullets from Arlen, which was clad in dark and wind magic. Sandro looked at Wilkins in horror, and only now did he realize how he and Wilkins died. That weapon! "Men, leave!" Sandro screamed as he fell down before even passing his orders. The mercenaries were in chaos as they lost all of their leaders and were scrambling to attack the castle. Arlen checked the dead corpses of Wilkins and Sandro. "Good, they are dead." He immediately ordered his men and he took out his guns. "No need to waste any time, kill them all. General Anik is rounding them up from the outside." Very soon the soldiers started heading outside the castle as they started targeting the mercenaries. However, the mercenaries were met with their very own traps as they tried to escape. John too was surprised about such a fast conclusion after the invasion of the castle. John smiled and thought, "Guess, I was worried about nothing. Good thing bringing the enemies inside the castle." Amber laughed as he saw the A5S in action for the first time, as expected of him, like a ghost, finishing his enemies in one stroke. John nodded as he charged with his men. Come, round all of them up. Use your mini ballistas. Target the ones who are trying to escape. Anyway, let's clear these traps and finish them fast. Very soon, all the remaining mercenaries were killed in cold blood without even a chance to resist Arlen and John. Arlen sighed with relief as he saw the conclusion of the battle. John immediately asked Arlen, when did they attack? Arlen thought and answered, it was noon I guess. That's also when I didn't allow the messenger to go to the camp after spotting them. I am sorry for not obeying your orders, my lord. John shook his head and spoke, Nat, it's okay, lives of our men are more valuable. Since all the mercenaries died, it wouldn't get leaked probably. It was a good thing that you immediately issued the order to use the rifles instead of cannons. This time we lost 141 men today when we attacked the mercenary base. However, so everything has their pros and cons. Anyway, we have finished them all for good. Arlen confusingly asked John when he spoke of mercenaries, what do you mean? My lord. Amber proudly spoke as he watched Arlen's confusion, General means what he says. Today the mercenaries were up to some mischief which pissed General off big time. Means we have destroyed their whole base along with Prince Hector's men at that camp. Routes are now cleared, there would be no mercenaries from now on. Amber slowly explained to him about the battle which took place the borders of Dolores, which astonished Arlen to no extent. With an astonished expression, Arlen exclaimed, no wonder these guys wanted to invade us thinking that they can win since General Anik was not here. Humph, however, they were in for a surprise today. I am not a pushover when it comes to my enemies. I wonder how did they get these ragtag bunch of ballistas and how were they able to bring in so many without being noticed by anyone? John handed him the letter of Liam and spoke with a smile, the answer lies in this letter. After reading the letter, Arlen thought a bit and came to the conclusion, it seems they were able to get their hands on it via the Radiant Church who is funding Duke Fjord currently. Am I correct? John nodded. Yes, you guys will be responsible to clear that temporary base in the west since the base's use is over. Bring in all the resources and clear the base. They would come in handy. Tomorrow there could be big actions taken since that Buffon Hector is coming in with an army towards our borders, it would be troublesome to handle him. It would be better if we defend from the castles and bunkers nearby. From now on we can use the cannons. Bring them in the position of ballistas. Order J to bring in some best squads of cannoneers here in the south. Also, deploy the rifles to all the men. The ban on rifles is over for good. Arlen nodded as he prepared to arrange all the things required. Josephine soon arrived with the reserves as she saw the whole situation. Whoa, all of them already dead? You guys used the rifles already? John asked. What, you feeling pity for them? With an irritated face, she angrily asked, no. Why did you guys finish it so early? I just got these men hyped for a battle. How do you expect me to answer them? John slapped his forehead as he heard the musclehead, Josephine. John thought as he heard her, they would probably be happy since they won't have to fight. Josephine saw John's mask and asked, it seems you are the new general which we are hearing about, Anik. Right. John nodded and coldly answered in his normal way, yes. Josephine asked as he looked at John carefully, why do I feel you are someone I know? Escaping the question he left in a hurry, ahem, let's leave, we need to make preparations. This will become a big fiasco. I don't have time for gossip. Josephine spoke as she forgot what she came for, yes. Men move and help Commander Arlen. Liam asked his men after looking at the all fiasco at the borders of Dolores, what was the result? Ed answered, everyone at the mercenary base which was made by Prince Hector is dead, there is a big hubbub going on at Dolores, while a lot of villagers nearby Dolores are leaving for North Frontier City. The reason for that is Jim's action today which exposed Prince Hector's conspiracy. As far as barbarians and baron makers are concerned, bodies of Wilkins and Sandro is up for display at the southern castle. By the looks of it, every one of them died. While not many of their men died on Count John's end. Only Joss's body was not found. I think he has escaped. Chapter 207. Liam was surprised after hearing the fate of all the mercenaries. It seems, this general is quite a guy looking at the fates of other mercenaries. It seems those armors made quite a difference looking at the number casualties. I wonder what would be the reaction of the Radiant Church and the royal family after hearing the fates of all the mercenaries. Joss, most likely escaped. He has always been a cunning guy. He was clearly planning something when he called for a meeting last time. I guess everyone got suckered in by him. Liam smiled as he continued, anyway, start preparing to transport food from tomorrow onwards since the result is clear. Ed smiled as he read the report, yes, boss. Ha ha ha, you again saved our lives. Those barbarians surely got suckered in. I always hated their guts. Liam smiled as he heard Ed, well, I never intended to ally with Radiant Church in the first place, so I guess that played as well. While that musclehead always had a downfall coming his way from his behavior. Soon John arrived at North Frontier City with his men. There was a line of food carriages being carried from outside which exclaimed a row of surprise from the locals. The city was in a hubbub as they saw a long line of carriages. One of the locals exclaimed, "Whoa, what is happening?" The other guy smiled after looking and spoke, "I guess it will be revealed soon enough. I heard today there was a blockade in the south because of repeated infiltrations by mercenaries. Today a full battalion of 5,000 men attacked the southern castle from what I know." One of the old men spoke after hearing them, "Those are fake numbers so that there is not a panic among the public. A lot of reserves from the academy were called out today. One of my boys was also there. I am sure something big happened there since they were called." One of the traders exclaimed after looking at the carriages carefully, from the looks of it, they seem like food and other resource carts to me. Where did they get so much food and other resources?" The old men smiled and answered, "It's better anyway. People would be reassured after watching this." There was no announcement as the policemen immediately dispersed the crowd after getting orders from superiors. While the carriages were heading straight towards various granaries and other storage warehouses. Looking at the blood-stained clothes of John, Taylor immediately invited him inside the headquarters. Taylor asked John, "Lord, it's good seeing you again after 3 days. From the looks, it seems you had a gruesome battle." John nodded and answered, "Yes, we will finally be having a big war. All the existing mercenaries at our borders were killed with no one left alive. However, in the process, we killed the soldiers of Prince Hector and Baron Antonio. I wonder how would they react." John continued as he spoke, "Announce about the results of today's battle to everyone. A total of 70,000 men died today. I guess this day would be remembered in the history of this kingdom. However, we had quite a few gains since we were able to rob them of 500,000 gold coins and 1 month worth of food." Sensing great killing intent in the city, Vlad immediately hurried to the square as he found that it was John who was leaking such great killing intent. "It looks like you were finally baptized in a battle." John saw Vlad's surprise and answered, "Yes, Master, it was a very gruesome battle. I had made a decision to kill all the mercenaries today on the battlefield. What do you think?" Vlad smiled as he saw John's determination and answered of what he thought, "First of all, you should learn to control your emotions. You are unintentionally leaking out killing intent. As for your decision, I won't blame you for your decisions as that was what saved your men. It was your right to protect your dominion and your men with whatever means possible. In the future, you will face many situations like the current one. You shouldn't get discouraged by what people say, as I faced the same when I was younger. This battle can also serve as a warning to your enemies. Currently, you should focus on connecting Aurora Island and NF City." John thought a bit and agreed with Vlad's opinion. "Thank you, Master. For connecting Aurora and North Frontier. I think Jay is already on it, it will be completed shortly. He and Arnold will complete the road real soon. I think Jay is concentrating more on the security of the roads currently. Vlad nodded and reported another news. There is another news. John nodded, as Vlad continued, it seems we found out about the secret factory created by the royal family near a magic metal mine at Duke Norman's southern region. After our thorough investigations, we found that they have made ballistas that are made from magic metals which have far greater range and power, and hence their aggressive posture from the royal family recently. I think you can play them this time around since we have this information. And from the spies, my men spotted King Lionheart at Radiant City just this morning. It seems a lot of moves have taken place while we were getting distracted from the mercenaries. Vlad thought as he thought about Friedreich's letter, how do I ask a favor from my disciple? Duke Friedreich really asks a lot. Nat, I ain't inviting him now. Let him handle this himself. John commented as he heard, it seems we need to be on a defensive since the king has moved as well. I am sure he is planning something big. No wonder he was so aggressive after getting the ballistas. We will try completing the road as soon as possible so that we won't be vulnerable anyway. And also try to improve the security of the area cleared by our men. Are you clear, Taylor? Taylor answered after getting orders, yes, sir. There are also reports that the Royal Navy has started increasing its patrols in the eastern and northern seas. Recently, because of disputes with the Dwarven Kingdom, they have claimed superiority in the waters just recently when they had a skirmish. Meanwhile, the dwarves are quiet at the moment. John thought and decided, okay, I have decided, we will transport some of our cannons to the ships as well so that we are cautious. Is there any news on the steam engines? Taylor nodded and answered, yes, they are already prepared by Tornwall and his men and have started productions. Tornwall is only waiting for Aurora and NF City to be connected so that they can be fitted to the ships. John nodded and spoke, okay, it's decided, start transporting them with the cannons. No need to worry about the security of the road. I don't want to take any chances in the seas as well since everyone is making moves. The next day, Ellison came in after he got news from Dolores. Lord, there is bad news. Luke furrowed his brows as he heard Ellison. What sort of bad news is it now? Ellison spoke hoarsely as he tried to calm himself down. It is the mercenaries. Mercenaries? With an irritating face, Luke asked, what have they done now? Chapter 208. Ellison shook his head and answered, no, what I am saying is all the mercenaries are dead at the mercenary camp which was made by Prince Hector along with the soldiers protecting the camp. This is very big, sir. Not a single man survived that battle against Count John's men. Meanwhile, the leaders of barbarians and barons are dead as well. Luke was confused as he asked again, what do you mean? How do you know that both of them are dead as well? Weren't they previously at the eastern port? Explain to me clearly. Ellison nodded and spoke, their heads were on display at the southern castle of North Frontier City. After inquiring the guards at the southern castle, they said that barbarians and baron makers tried to invade them yesterday, which resulted in the current situation. Their aim most likely was to capture the castle and take the ballistas, or to make a base and claim their superiority in the region, which they failed miserably. Ellison calmed down and slowly started explaining the whole event which took place yesterday. Hearing Ellison, Luke had a grave face as he understood the situation. Luke was flabbergasted as he asked in a hurried tone, what do you mean? Did he kill 70,000 men in one single day? He didn't even spare the guards at the mercenary camp. Have they gone crazy? Ellison sighed as he nodded and answered, yes, the camp was burning for a long time with a lot of bodies over here. Many people have witnessed it already. Rumors are already being passed everywhere. But the thing is, a lot of nearby villagers are migrating to North Frontier City. The thing is, yesterday, one of the lackeys of Jim revealed about their dealings with Prince Hector and Baron Antonio in front of the whole village when they attacked them. And this is being spread to all the nearby villages, that is increasing this migration by villages. Luke slapped his forehead as he was completely shocked. He murmured after hearing about the deaths of 70,000 men, lunatic, completely lunatic, that general is a complete lunatic. Why did that dolt Jim had to target the villagers again and anger that general? Is there any reaction from that count? Meanwhile, if that migration is true, then a lot of people are leaving their fields and this would be catastrophic. Ellison spoke with a grave face. Yes, the count completely supports the actions taken by General Anik. Here is the news report about the event. This is also the reason why people are cheering for the eradication of mercenaries. However, many people fear that general. We can use that to our benefit. Luke massaged his forehead as he thought about this situation. Okay, arrange a meeting with Count John for now. Okay, my lord. General Irwin furrowed his brows as he read an article about the eradication of 70,000 mercenaries. Irwin asked his subordinate, "Do you know anything about it? Or that Count is simply bluffing about this?" The subordinate answered, "No sir, the information provided here is correct. I did report to you about yesterday's assault by Jim and Co. at the nearby village, where you wanted them to sort it out themselves." He continued, "They really did kill 70,000 men in their assault yesterday when they attacked Gold Rush mercenaries at camp and the barbarians and baron makers at their borders at Southern Castle. They were led by their new general, Anik. He was the one who gave the orders to kill all of them when they attacked at camp and when they were invaded. And there is another news. We also got a report from Ambassador Luke." Irwin had a surprised as well as serious face as he grasped reality real early. "Whoa, it seems I forget about that small skirmish. It looks like the skirmish turned into something big. It seems this general would be quite a handful if he was in our army. That general is quite audacious to announce his arrival in Elias by eradicating 70,000 mercenaries in a single day. This guy would give Bellion a run for a challenge." Continue. The subordinate spoke. "From the looks of it, it seems that they have always hidden the true firepower of their ballistas. Their ballistas had 2.1 times the range of our ballistas, which was concluded after we made investigations of the border at the battle site. We are only able to surpass them in power and range when we are using magic metal ballistas along with dragon materials. These are quite rare. While Radiant Church's Templars are going to join us today, this is the letter given by His Majesty today." Irwin nodded as he read the letter. It seems they have a plan. However, now this is all for naught, or else we too will face big casualties in front of those ballistas, and it would cost a lot to make ballistas from magic metal and dragon parts. How many magic ballistas do we have currently? 78 currently. Irwin nodded as it tallied his current count. They can be good enough. I hope everything goes well. Irwin thought and smiled. This would be a bloody battle. That count surely hid himself quite well all this time. No wonder he was so aggressive. This time he too will be in for a surprise after watching the runic magic metal ballistas. It's good that we still have a better range than those guys. Slowly the whole of Elias Kingdom got to know about the first battle of Northern Front. Whoa! Is this serious? 70,000 people killed in one day? Does that count really not fear anything? He even killed the soldiers of Prince Hector and Baron Antonio. I wonder how would they react after this? Minister Plato had a grave face as he asked, "Tell me what happened, why did the situation get out of hand? This is not a small matter. That mad general killed 70,000 without even blinking, while that lunatic count is supporting his actions. If our army faces such a general, that means we will be facing a lot of deaths. I am ordering to cancel the invasion." The subordinate answered, "It's not possible, my lord. Orders have already been passed by King to Lord Irwin yesterday. The Templar captain, Johnson, is already going to join Lord Irwin at Dolores. They would soon start their attacks with the new magic ballistas with the dragon materials, as they have a bigger range. As far as the 70,000 deaths are concerned, the situation got out of hold because of the mercenary Jim. After being hunted for days, it seems they were frustrated, and hence they decided to use their usual tactic against that count, which backfired them greatly. We got this news from one of the villagers. Most of the villagers now don't trust Prince Hector and are now leaving for NF City or for other domains where they can trust a lord. Plato murmured, it seems what Ian Red saw was likely this. This guy Anik is bad news. He should either be in the royal family or dead already. We need to make changes. It's good that their trump cards just got revealed and King has made an alliance with the Radiant Church to reduce the losses. It's good that King heard Ian Red's query. Prince Hector was thoroughly enraged as he saw the border town, which seemed like a ghost town currently. That guy dares to kill my men and loot the fort so brazenly? I will make sure that he faces an appropriate response to the actions taken by his men. They think they are hot shit as they were able to kill some mercenaries. They have just opened the doors of hell after this action. Alistair reported without any advice, there is another bad news of barbarians and baron makers getting wiped yesterday, my lord. Hector cursed as he saw the situation, damn it, those guys couldn't even wait for a day thinking that they would lose out on looting. Even Duke Norman has his pussying out after this result. Damn it, what do we do? Alistair sighed and thought, good, or else we would have faced the same fate. No wonder that Count was so confident. Those ballistas were indeed hiding something big. That new general surely is a lunatic considering he killed all the men without thinking twice. It's better if we don't provoke them again. Even that Count is supporting that mad general. Antonio thought and spoke, my lord, what if we convince Duke Norman to attack that Count when the royal family and the Radiant Church attack them? I am sure he would be open to such suggestions. Alistair looked at Antonio and then spoke to Hector, my lord, Joss reported something which would interest you. I wonder if I can speak. Hector nodded and spoke, continue. Alistair nodded and reported, that general was reportedly able to use space, fire, and wind magic when he fought Jim. He is also proficient at incredible speeds. Joss has remarked that only a few guys can fight him head-on in Elias. If we want to do something, then we need to take care of that guy first. In the previous fight with Jim, he was toying him with a knife without using any magic, and this was seen by many men. I am sure this is very critical news for us. Antonio thought as he heard Alistair's discouraging words, damn this guy. Hector thought deeply and spoke, okay, we will think about both the proposals. That Count is getting dangerous day by day, so he needs to be taken care of earlier. I guess we need to strike when everyone is going to attack them. I will consult Mary, who will try to convince Duke of our decision. Meanwhile, try to contact that general, he can be useful to us. Given his range of skills, I am sure he would be interested in working for the royal family instead of working at a small run of a mill domain. Duke Norman was quite alarmed after hearing about the end of mercenaries. He thought for a bit, this is very dangerous, I never thought that guy would take such crazy decision. It seems Alistair was right when he consulted me previously. Maybe I should heed his advice or it would be fatal for me. There are already some guys who refused to heed my calls. But that Count will be more dangerous if we can't do anything to him now. Mary spoke as she heard Norman, Dad, why don't we wait and watch while keeping our army at the borders, because the royal family too will have a reaction when they hear of 70,000 deaths. We should take our chances when the royal family launches an attack. Duke Norman nodded as he thought deeply, yes, this would be for better, and Black Wolf too is currently alert on his borders with the demons and demi-human and beasts. Meanwhile, our interests are tied by soap manufacturing currently. I am sure he won't use this chance to attack us. Okay, we will go with your suggestion. Chapter 209. Lukov was laughing hysterically as he read the report from Giorgio, ha ha ha, as expected of the guy I allied with. I am sure this has shaken a lot of hearts in the kingdom, as nobles would fear him for taking revenge if they act against him. John has surely found a gem this time around. No bullshit, straight killings just like my old way. Duncan smiled, and with a sigh, he answered, however this would likely jeopardize their relationship with the royal family, as they will put a complete blockade on him. Lukov mocked as he spoke, they weren't doing him any favors, to be honest. I am sure this slap would be ringing for quite a while into Lionheart's face. However, this time he will have to bear it, since he has hit an iron plate this time around. Duncan nodded, from this whole incident only Fjord and we profited off the most, I believe. However, Hector has gained a big adversary after his whole conspiracy. It seems Count John takes a lot after you, my lord. Lukov sighed and spoke with a serious face. Yes, we can't help it since he started the conflict with him. He would most likely pay for his wrongdoings. Is the information you have correct? Duncan nodded and gave a report by his spies. Yes, it was ordered by Prince Hector. He had colluded with the mercenaries so that your father could move against him. We have confirmed reports of the money trail and multiple reports that Gold Rush mercenaries and Prince Hector's men were responsible for the massacre at Greenwood's village. Currently, the mercenary Joss is in possession of gold which Prince Hector gave to Jim as he was seen splurging his money in western capital Gredos recently. Lukov had an angry face as he confirmed Hector's role, so, he really was responsible for it. Okay, make the preparations for the attack. Duncan smiled and answered, Lord, this is the first report from him in the north. Lukov asked with a serious face, what is it? Duncan gave the report. He says that Templars and the royal family plan to attack Count John 4 to 5 days later. Lukov smiled as he remembered his pact 7 years ago after the Red Lake City incident. It seems he is finally starting to act. Good. We too will attack Felix 4 days later. We will not get a better chance. Charlie was quite surprised as read the report from his Knight Robin. Whoa, this count and his men are dangerous for sure. 70,000 men in one day? I never expected such an outcome. That general is dangerous for sure from the way he engaged with his enemies. It's good that I never acted and let Hector make his moves, otherwise I would have made a big enemy. Robin nodded. Yes, Prince. Charlie asked about another important matter. What were the weapons that they used recently? Robin gave the report. It seems they are using some shoes and other accessories on the horses to maintain balance and more efficiency. We heard it from Joss, who noticed the peculiarity. He thinks they are likely the reason why they are able to use bows on a horse while bringing out more efficiency. Charlie nodded. This information will be quite useful. Okay, we will report it to the Radiant Church. It would be useful to them since they are mobilizing just recently. Queen of Ionanoer Kingdom, Kaelin recently got some news from Rebecca that Joanna was showing signs of improvement and recovery. She asked her as she had her own doubts, how did her body recover so fast when we were barely keeping her alive with 24 hours check UPS? Rebecca hesitated for a while. Speak up, what are you hiding? Queen roared. It's Princess Emina who gave her some medicine recently that might have done the trick. Ambassador Alyson and strategist Mist had recently sent a parcel to Princess that might have a cure, and it is finally showing the effects. Kaelin was surprised as she heard Rebecca. What? When did such a miraculous medicine become available? Did they get it from some sage who was researching on malaria? Rebecca shook her head and answered, no, it is our alliance partners, North Frontier Cities Count John, who made the medicine. Kaelin was curiously reading Mist's letter as she heard Rebecca. Interesting, I haven't seen that girl quite some time. Where is she? Actually, Rebecca hesitated as she was about to say, but she saw Elf King Eden's eyes and didn't speak. Kaelin lifted her brows and spoke with an angry tone. What are both of you hiding? Speak fast, you wouldn't want to face the consequences when I am angry. Finally, Rebecca broke under pressure as she avoided Eden's eyes and narrated the whole incident about Emina's departure and why she left. Eden murmured as he saw the helpless face of Rebecca. Damn it, these guys can't even hide one thing. I guess must be ready for a beating. Thomas sighed as he heard Rebecca and spoke to Queen Kaelin. Queen, I have already sent headbands and the whole squad for the protection of Princess Emina. Kaelin roared as she knew that he must have known about Emina's departure. Shut up, you guys dare send her in a war zone without consulting me? Don't you know the consequences? Now, give a complete report on Joanna's health. Rebecca hurried immediately and answered, yes. After detailed discussions, the meeting was concluded. Kaelin spoke as read the report of Mist. This count is quite interesting to be able to convince Alyson and Mist to make an alliance with us. From now on activate our spies and keep an eye on him as well. I heard there have been big moves taking place in Elias currently, even that Ludwin has started contacting with Fjord from our unconfirmed sources. We need to be alert. It's good that we found someone worth allying. Thomas answered, Yes, Your Majesty. Kalen suddenly asked, What is the situation on violent Eastern Belt? Thomas sighed and gave the answer, It's the same as before. Even our best ships can't cross that violent sea belt unless we have better ships. Kalen thought and gave the answer, Okay, bring this letter to Allison and Mist. Lionheart cursed as he read a report while he was traveling back to the Imperial city, Godamit, that bastard is hellbent on refuting me. 70,000 men, even though I wanted a solution for those mercenaries, but they could have been useful for me to some extent. The most I expected was casualties as high as 10,000 where I intended to use them. That guy is really a lunatic. Chapter 210. One of the guys reported the king, Lord, they even killed the 5,000 personal soldiers of Prince Hector. The thing was, the soldiers were protecting the camp, so General Anik assumed that they were mercenaries and hence dealt with them as well. That was one of the reasons given by Count in his newspapers. Lionheart cursed as soon as he heard him, What? He dared to kill our soldiers as well. That Count dares play with words. Just because a few villages near his domain were targeted and he decided to obliterate all the mercenaries which could have been useful to us. So many capable fighters. They would have been useful against the barbarian beasts at the western border. It seems we really need to tighten the screws. Okay, it's decided, from now on they will face full sanctions from our side. No trade, nothing. We will be considering him as a rogue. Start targeting his ships in the seas with Fjord. We will attack him with Templars 4 days later since we need a revised plan. Now the North Frontier domain will be considered as the property of the royal family and we have legitimate right to invade it. One of the ministers in charge of legal matters spoke with a grave face after hearing him, My lord, it is not possible legally since other nobles too will feel threatened by this move of ours. We should have a valid reason for annulling the agreement which we made with Count John. The most we can ask him is to hand over the general and other captains since their general took unilateral actions. We can consider him a rogue though since it doesn't break any agreements. Give him a time period for handing over the generals and then we can invade if he doesn't comply. Lionheart cursed as he thought about the results of this battle, I am more pissed at the fact that we were completely fooled by that count. He dared to fool the royal family by giving us the blueprints of substandard ballistas. Do we have any legal actions against this fraud? The Law and Justice Minister shook his head and answered, No sir, I read the agreement carefully and they mentioned that they had handed over the blueprints of Prototype 2. I guess their substandard ballistas were Prototype 2 and they had hidden the original and other types of ballistas. We clearly signed the documents which mentioned Prototype 2. But we can still use this as propaganda that they betrayed the royal family who funded them without any doubts. Using this we can create public opinion where we will be justified to invade them. We can also assure the other ministers and aristocrats that Count John betrayed the throne's good faith and that is the reason we are invading them. And more importantly, currently, we still have an advantage i.e. magic metal ballistas from the Lore family and also their Lore short swords. Currently, we are exploring the use of ballista and how they are operated in magic. We have currently made the same type of mini ballistae which the Dragon's Knights can equip. Lionheart nodded after hearing him, Okay, start with the sanctions and tell them that they have to hand over that general in 2 days or they will have to face the consequences. That general can be useful to us. Yes, also try contacting that general with our spies. While also start propaganda against that count in the whole kingdom so that most of the guys support us on our war. The law minister hesitated and spoke, Sir, there is another matter. Lionheart furrowed his brows and asked irritatingly, What is it? He nodded and spoke, It is about Prince Hector. Many outskirt villages near Dolores are abandoning their fields and moving to NF City after the previous expose by those mercenaries of Gold Rush. This would be detrimental to us if those guys abandon the fields. Lionheart cursed as he remembered about all the scandals of Hector. Previously he impregnated that noble girl and now this scandal already. That brat is always leaving the trails. Humph, anyway, let them run, they can't do shit. Those villages can become helpful as bases when we invade them. Anyway, tell Luke to try and get in contact with that general. Currently, Emina was at Eastern Port City with the guards in civilian clothes who escorted her previously. Emina roared as she asked a guard at the borders, "What? Why can't I move to North Frontier City? After traveling such a long way, I can't even go there." One of the guards smiled and answered with a tough tone, "It is because of current rising tensions and the previous battle near Dolores. You don't seem like a local, are you a tourist? If you are a tourist, why don't you travel to other places?" Looking at the tone of the guard, she understood that he wouldn't budge and was trying to persuade her to travel elsewhere. She smiled and spoke, "Yes, I am a tourist. I especially came to Elias because of the North Frontier City. Or else why would I travel such a long way from Ionanoer? Humph, I am here for the medicine made at North Frontier City. If you guys really have a cure apart from the Radiance Church, I won't mind traveling elsewhere." As soon as the guard heard of Ionanoer and about their medicines, he furrowed his brows as he was from one of the factions belonging to Antonio's general. He was frustrated by people going to North Frontier City for trying to get medicines. The guard smiled and answered in a mocking way, "Miss, you shouldn't believe in those rumors of the North Frontier City curing malaria, typhoid, and other diseases. And if you insist, we can't help it since these are orders from the top. If you want to go there, you can take other routes." Looking at the map, she understood that the guard was mocking her as there were no other routes. Looking at the feudal situation, she left fuming. The guard then pointed to Emina and told one of his superiors, "Boss, what do you think of her?" The superior laughed and answered, "Quite a beauty, I guess she is someone rich and hence she came here looking for a cure. Lord Antonio is in a bad mood these days, maybe I can introduce her to him and gain his favor. Keep a look at her and also her dwellings." The guard smiled and answered, "Yes, boss." From a nearby stall, Binz looked at both the guard and his boss as he remembered their face. After hearing their conversation, he murmured, "It seems both of these men are looking for death." His subordinate had an angry face as he asked Binz, "Any orders, boss?" Binz nodded and answered, "Yes, you should know the routine. Kill both of these men today, take their sketch and distribute it to the men. I don't want to complicate matters if that pervert baron gets involved. Meanwhile, don't let Princess know that we are here. Do you have any other news?" The subordinate nodded and got to the point, "Look at this paper, boss." Binz touched the paper and commented, "Good quality, where did you get it?" Subordinate slapped his forehead, "I am not talking about the quality of the paper, I am talking about the contents. I got it from a bar where they were selling information. These papers are sold for pennies at North Frontier City. Look at this article about the mercenaries." Binz nodded and read, "Whoa, 70,000 men. Now that is quite a number. I guess a lot of nobles participated to eradicate these pests as they were hurting their interests." He shook his head and answered, "Nope, it was done by Count John and his general alone. Currently, they are facing sanctions by the royal family. It's the same situation as the Lore family when they made that magical short sword. This time it is because of these weapons called ballistas." Binz nodded as he understood the current political situation. "I guess there are at least some guys who really care about common men in this kingdom. No wonder, Princess wanted to meet this guy. Anyway, complete the task given, make sure it seems like an accident. Try to contact the spies of North Frontier City as well so that we can find another way to meet Count John. Mist and Allison had said that we should contact those spies in case we face any problems. Take this address and go meet the spy." He nodded and left. "Yes, sir." Templar Johnson was currently with Francis, who was leading their men to Dolores. "So how do you feel now that you are free from that count?" Francis said as he looked at his cut-off fingers. How can I feel good unless I pay him back for the previous humiliation?